Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And here's a really interesting one. Some of you who were around, 50 years ago, God, and were collecting interesting and unusual repertoire will probably have come across this disc. You may even have owned it, the original LP. It's not a long CD. It's only about half an hour, actually, total, a little more, 35 minutes. But, oh my goodness, is it wonderful. Wonderful for the amazingness of the playing and the interpretations, as well as the interest of the music. It is this disc featuring the Contemporary Chamber Ensemble under Arthur Weisberg, doing Weill, Kleine, Dreigroschenmusik, the suite from the Threepenny Opera, which is written for wind ensemble, wind and percussion, and Darius Milhaud, La Création du Monde, the jazz ballet. Both of these pieces are influenced by American jazz and popular music idioms, so they have that much in common, but they're otherwise quite different and just amazingly wonderful. I remember vividly when I was a kid, when I was younger, grabbing this disc, which was expensive for me, and just because I wanted to hear the music. I read about it, I knew something about it, and to have these two things on one disc was just fantastic. It was a wonderful opportunity to get to know these very, very unusual pieces. I didn't know much about either composer, but the disc just blew my mind. It absolutely blew me away. It's one of those recordings that enlarges your conception of what classical music can be. Because if you've grown up and you listen to Brahms and Beethoven and Mozart and Bach and all of those people, okay, you think you know, but then you listen to sort of the music you grow up with, right? Popular music, songs, things that you hear, jazz occasionally and stuff that your friends play, and you wonder why there are these opposite poles. And at one point, at least at the beginning of the 20th century, those poles began to overlap, at least a little bit. We began to hear how composers were able to absorb influences that were not generally considered, echt classical, beyond the pale of what the source material for classical works ought to be. And so I found this disc to be something of a relief, actually, because it's in an idiom that I found very congenial and easy to listen to and understand, and the performances, as I said, are just astounding. Now, the Kleine Dreigroschenmusik was actually a commission of Otto Klemperer back in his more radical days when he was running the Kroll Opera in Germany, before he was forced out during the Weimar period and whatnot. And he actually recorded it for EMI late in his life, and his recording is just, oh my goodness, it's so heavy. It's so four-square and Germanic. It's funny, actually. I wonder how he played it when it actually came out, because it's just crazy. The Kanonen song, here is da 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 ba ba da ba da ba da ba da ba da 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 ba da ba da ba da ba 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 da ba ba da. It's really up tempo and lively and sardonic, whereas Klemper is jump ba dum ba ba do boo do ba do ba do ba do ba do boo ba do. It's really kind of amusing, and I greatly prefer this version, but the whole thing is just wonderful. Now, The Creation of the World is an incredible piece. It's one of the first major jazz works. Apparently, it didn't come off so well at the first performance because it involved, balloons inflating at the moment of creation, and the hiss of helium or whatever it was, inflating everything, overwhelmed the sound of the orchestra. But it's a beautiful. It begins with a sort of bluesy saxophone lament, and then it winds up doing this crazy sort of jazz Charleston, almost, flapper 1920s kind of thing. It's such a fresh and original piece. Milhaud is very eclectic. He wrote tons and tons and tons of music. He really does not get the attention that he deserves. He was a fine composer. He wrote a whole batch of really good symphonies, lots of wonderful suites. I wish somebody would do all of his city pieces, because he wrote a whole series, music for London, music for New York, music for, fill in the name of the city in question. There's like, I don't know, a dozen of them. They would be kind of like the Bachianas Brasileiras, all of these locale works that he did. And they're just marvelous and fun to listen to. It would be a great long-term project for somebody to sink their teeth into. But again, there are plenty of recordings of the creation of the world. I mean, Bernstein did it, for example, and not badly, but none of them have, I think, just the pizzazz that this performance has, the rhythm and the sharpness and the edge and the freshness, the sound of something really new happening. It's just a tremendous record. It was issued in, 1973 originally, and where it is now, I have no idea. But if you can hear these performances, do. If you don't know the music, give it a listen. You'll find it extraordinary. This is unquestionably one of the greatest recordings ever. So keep on listening, friends, and thanks for joining me. Take care.